Hi, welcome to Cinema Scene and Meet Me at the Movies right here on C19 TV and WGWG. I really appreciate you spending time with us as we talk movies each week. We do reviews, we do entertainment news, and from time to time, we're very fortunate enough to be able to have some interviews, and we've had quite a few lately, and I'm very happy to have Amy Jo Johnson joining us today. Thank you for being here, Amy Jo.
Thanks for having me.
You have an incredible body of work. You've been around for a little while doing some entertainment stuff. And before we get into the interview, I've got to say that I have a cousin who is a few years younger than I am, who grew up watching this show called The Power Rangers. And it just so happened that her very favorite character was the Pink Power Ranger, and she actually did the Halloween costume with the Pink Power Ranger for several years. So I've got to say that Megan Davis Hoffer said to say hello to the Pink Power Ranger.
Well, tell her I said hi. That was my first job, my first acting job I ever had.
Well, talk about that. When did you know that you wanted to get into filmmaking? You've been a singer, songwriter, you've done directing, you've been in front of the camera and behind it, but when did you know that you wanted to pursue this?
So, yeah, I was an actress for about 20 years, 15 years into it. I moved my entire life up to Canada, sort of on a whim. I just was sort of done with Los Angeles and I needed a break. And I went to Montreal, and then I got asked to audition for Flashpoint, which is a CBC and it's not CBC, CBS TV series, and that brought me to Toronto. And then I fell in love with Toronto, and I haven't left. I still live here, and I think through my process of shooting Flashpoint is when I sort of found my confidence. I had a baby during that time. It was my coworkers, just my experience on that show really grounded me, and I found my confidence. When the show ended, I decided I wanted to try filmmaking, and so I raised money and I shot my first short film, and I fell in love, and I was just found my passion. And then being in Toronto and being in Canada was kind of the perfect place for me because they're so nurturing to emerging filmmakers. And so in the past 6 years, I've done 3 short films and 2 features. And so Tammy's Always Dying is my second feature film, which is being released May 1st.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time talking about that. But going back to your first acting gig with the Power Rangers, did you have any idea the impact that show had on pop culture during that time?
Oh, no, I had no idea. All I knew was I was in pink spandex on television. And I was like, oh, boy. And, I had just gotten to LA, like literally just got there. And I didn't go to university. I did go to school 1 year in New York City to AMDA, but Power Rangers was like my college, and we had a lot of fun, to tell you the truth, filming it. But I didn't realize the impact that it had on so many people until probably the last 5 years when I started doing conventions and raising money for the films that I'm doing. Through that, did I realize the undeniable, like this amazing support I have from so many people that grew up with me or grew up watching me and followed my career from Power Rangers to Felicity to then Flashpoint and now into filmmaking. It's pretty wonderful to have these people to help fuel the films that I'm making now.
Yeah, it has become this, I guess, family for you and almost an alumnus or alumni following of still people who were part of what you were doing, whether they were working with you or watching you, but now they still want to work with you and watch you. And that first big film project that you decided to take on yourself to direct, you did some crowdsourcing, is that right?
I did. I raised a bunch of money on Indiegogo, and I would not have been able to make that movie without all of the support that I got from all of those people. And majority of them were kids who are now grown up who, you know, started off by watching Power Rangers. I even put on the suit. I put on the suit and bust. And I said I was going to bust, but anyway, I played guitar in the middle of Young and Dundas, and I put the suit on, and I was like 42 years old. Like that. Anyway, I'm very grateful for all the support I got.
Yeah. I think there's some video of you actually playing guitar in the suit with people surrounding you.
Yeah, I did that.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you still writing and still performing? Because as far as singing and songwriting?
I have been in the last month and a half. You know, I always play my piano and I've been learning covers for the last couple of years, but I found in the last month and a half with everything that's going on, I've just been really drawn to playing my guitar and singing. And I've actually been doing a couple of these Stage It shows.
Yeah.
Like stageit.com, and I've had this great turnout of, again, these people have been supporting me for so long, and we have so much fun. And I sing for 40 minutes and they watch and I chat, and it's great. It's been really fun.
That's awesome. Are any of those coming up anytime soon? Or where can people find them?
I just did one yesterday, but so the movie's coming out May 1st, and I had to stage it show yesterday because we launched a contest because I want to do a premiere for the show, for the movie, because it was supposed to be in theaters, but now it's not because of what's going on. So I still wanted to do something special and celebrate. And so I have this contest going on that if you post a picture of what you would wear to the premiere and then tag Tammy's Always Dying, or hashtag Tammy's Always Dying and premiere from here, and then tag us in the photo, I'm going to pick 50 people to watch the movie for free on May 1st. And then we're going to have a Q&A and talk about it. And my friend Greg Grumberg from Felicity is going to host it. Yeah, I think you still got to like make the best out of the situation and celebrate, you know, these the release of a movie that
Absolutely.
people put such like their heart and soul into getting made.
Absolutely. And you have to adapt to whatever the situation is around you. And it's a wonderful thing that you're doing is adapting and trying to find a way to still get community involved and still get audiences involved. And so I think I'm going to tag myself. I've got a pretty interesting jacket. So I'm gonna do that.
You can I would love for you to come.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram, so I'm A to the double J.
A to the double J. Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's talk about this new film with Felicity Huffman that is launching on May 1st. Tammy's Always Dying. I've got to say, I've got a chance to watch this film, and it is amazing talent that you pulled together. The story, the locations. I think everything really works in this film about a mother and daughter, and each of them, I think, growing and finding this incredible character arc in their own way. I'd love to hear the story behind the making of this film and how this came to be.
Sure. So I went to the Canadian Film Center about 3 years ago, and I took the director's lab. I'd already made The Space Between, my first feature, but really, really wanted to go through this program to just study a bit and to practice and, you know, hone my skills as a director. And in that course, I met Joanne Sarrazin, who was in the writer's lab, and she was writing Tammy's Always Dying at that time. And I heard Tammy's Always Dying in a reading, and I just truly cathartically was struck by it. It's wickedly funny. It's very, very sad. It's hopeful. It has all these elements as a filmmaker of the stories that I like to tell. And then I also really identified with it because my father is a non-functioning alcoholic and suffers from depression. And he really, in a lot of ways, is a male version of Tammy.
Wow. Wow.
And so I think that was my way inside of the script. So I asked Joanne if I could make her movie, and she agreed. And then we went on the journey of raising the money, and then my manager and my former manager in Los Angeles got the script into Felicity Huffman's hands. and she loved the script, which then really greenlit everything. Once Felicity hopped on board, like the whole project got wings. And I went and met with her in New York, and she agreed to do the movie. And I'm so grateful, because it's, you know, it's a little $2 million movie from Canada, and she didn't know us.
Wow.
But trusted us, and she flew out here and she shot our film for a month and brought her A game. And so we were very, very lucky and blessed to have her be so generous.
Her performance was, honestly, it was Oscar caliber. And I just was drawn in from the first scene that she was in, and I knew I was in for a ride. And talk a little bit about the co-star, the daughter starring opposite of her, because the chemistry between the two was pretty incredible.
Yeah, so Anastasia Phillips plays Kathy, and I knew it was going to be her off of the self-tapes that people were sending in. As soon as I saw Anastasia's tape, I was like, that's her. And then of course we had the regular auditions where everybody came into the room. But yeah, Felicity and Anastasia are great together, and they're very different actresses as well, where Anastasia really works on this cathartic, deep sort of working from the inside out, and Felicity is from the stage and has this whole craft, and the way she prepares is very different from Anastasia. But the two of them together, you know, and Anastasia had to be very brave because Felicity's a force, and quite intimidating. But she went toe to toe with her, and she just got in there with her. And I'm so proud of both of them. They're so good in the movie.
So as you were working on this film, you know, once it was underway, the shooting was underway, how long into the shooting did you realize, okay, I've got something here? You knew what you wanted because you wanted this story, but when did you know that, okay, this is going to be something people need to see?
Oh, I think when I read the script.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it was like, this is the next movie I want to make. And then, of course, it's a journey, filmmaking, and you know, the assembly was 2.5 hours long, and the movie is only an hour and a half, and the journey in the editing room was huge.
Yeah.
The movie took so many different shapes and forms, and it was a drama at one point, which just was not good, to, I think, really landing in a place where that I love. It's definitely a movie that I'm really proud of, that I feel like even that ending, which we won't give away, but I had a lot of people who didn't want that ending, and it's shifted and changed, and it finally came back to the ending that was written and the ending that I shot, because that's the ending. That's the ending I wanted.
Yeah, I think as a dark comedy, this really does work. And what I loved about the way that this was presented was it felt authentic. I think each scene felt authentic. The progression of what happened throughout the entire story, it all felt real and natural. And comedy in itself is a difficult thing to do, but I think when you're able to do dark comedy and mirror that and balance that with the drama that is actually real life, I think it feels so natural. And you did such an amazing job with that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. That is those are the movies that I like to watch, and so those are the movies I'm, you know, trying to make.
So
the ones that like deal with the heavy subjects, but then you find the humor somewhere within that.
So I know you've been able to have some early screenings for this as well. What's some of the feedback you've been getting from those who have had a chance to experience it like I have?
Oh, so I have to say I'm so grateful and happy that we went to TIFF last year. You know, because the film got into TIFF, and I got to go there and be a filmmaker within such a prestigious, amazing festival that I'm so grateful, because right now it's really, you know, heartbreaking for so many filmmakers who got into Tribeca or South by Southwest, and I got to experience that, and the film got to have that festival premiere, which in front of an audience, which was really, really wonderful. And it was so well received, and yeah, I'm so grateful that we were in TIFF and have that.
Well, when you have those film festival opportunities, you also have a chance for the Q&A and for the audience interaction. And I know I've been a part of film festivals from the presenting film festivals aspect of it. And I know what that means to a filmmaker to be able to have that interaction. And so you probably had other experiences in the past doing film festivals. Talk a little bit about that and just how important that is for a filmmaker to interact with an audience in that way.
Yeah, so The Space Between, which was my first feature, I actually did a grassroots theater tour around the States. And I loved it. I loved sitting in the back of the audience and watching the audience watch the movie. As a filmmaker, it's so helpful to know what's landing, what's not landing, and I think I watched every screening we had. We did maybe 50 festivals.
Wow.
And I went to the mall and I would sit in that audience and just see. And it was interesting to see, like in China, we did a Shanghai Film Festival, which was amazing. And they had subtitles, and it was really interesting to see what jokes were landing and with culturally what's different. And I really love watching a movie that I make with the audience and seeing what's working.
Yeah, and see how they react. And there are times that you hope certain things connect, and then when they do, you're like, yes.
Yeah, with the Space Between, it was always like that. I mean, I watched it so many times, and every time a joke would land, I'd be like, oh, God, yes. Good. And so I had the same experience with Tammy, but I've only had the theater experience with that week at TIFF, and it was incredible. I think we did 4 screenings and packed the house. It was sold out each night. And it was received really well, and people laughed at the right spots and cried at the right spots. And it was like, oh, okay, we did it.
Yeah. Well, as I watched Tammy, I really found myself experiencing a lot of different emotions. And I have also had family members that have suffered from either depression or alcoholism. And so when you're able to see characters that you can connect to, I think it does speak to you in a different way than maybe somebody who can't really relate to that. But I do think that as I watched this film, I was drawn to themes about relationships, but also introspective aspects of looking at who we are and how we relate to others, and how we relate to others that may hurt us, even if they're not intentionally trying to do it. So what are some of the messages that you gained from the story the first time you heard it, and then after you've created the film, what do you feel has resonated with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the movie is, like I said, about letting go.
Okay.
And their relationship, is so codependent, and they both have their faults within it, and Kathy has such a hard time leaving, and and I don't know, I think I know that story so well, and my family knows that story so well.
Yeah.
And Felicity, when she first hopped on board, she wanted to talk to me and Joanne, the writer, a bit, and really make sure that the movie was the story of redemption. And it is complicated, but ultimately it really, we did do that. And yeah, it's about unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the unconditional love is never easy. And I think that comes through strongly as well. What a wonderful film, and I hope more people get a chance to see it. And I would love for you to tell people again, if they want to possibly be a part of that premiere, how can that happen?
Okay, so you just go to my Instagram, or you go to Instagram and you post a picture of what you would wear to the premiere, and then tag on the photo A to the double J, which is me, and Tammy's Always Dying. and then hashtag Tammy's Always Dying and premiere from here. And then that'll enter you into the contest, and we're going to pick 50 people.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, looking forward to more of your work in the future. Really, really excited about what you've done, and just continue the good work. Are there any final thoughts or comments that you would want to share? I do have a couple more questions, but any final comments you want to make sure you share with our audience about this movie in particular?
I don't know, just it comes out on May 1st, and it's available in Canada and the US on demand, probably on every platform where you can actually rent the movie. And a lot of people put their heart and souls into getting this movie made, and I'm really proud of it, and I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, Tammy's Always Dying, and I loved the choices for music for this as well. Really wanted you to talk, if you could, just briefly about the choices of music and how that all came to be.
Sure. So the composer is Casey MQ, which is a composer up here in Canada, and he is wonderful. And then a dear friend of mine who was in a band called Remy Zero back in the 90s, he has a song near the end of the film. His voice just breaks my heart. It's the most beautiful voice on the planet. You remember Remy Zero?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, God. And then Bird York, who was nominated for an Oscar for her song in Crash, actually read the script and then wrote the ending credits song for the movie called Kites, which is pretty cool. And then Claire Maguire has the opening song of the film. And then there's another really beautiful song by, I think she's from Belgium. Schmed Pulse is the name of the band.
Well, that's what I loved how you had a traditional type of score, but then you had these songs that a music supervisor might pick out that really clicked with the scenes. And I wanted to make sure I just mentioned that because I loved that. And you don't see that as much today in film, but it worked so well. And so I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, I write to music, and I shot list to music, and I figure out what I'm doing through music. And yeah, that opening song, actually, it had a very different song in there that we were playing with and working with, and it was completely different energy. And then I was driving to work, and I was listening to my Google Play radio station, and the song came on, and I was like, oh, what's this song? And so we threw it in the edit, and I was like, okay. So I found her on Facebook and messaged her, and I'm like, can we, license your song for this movie? And she said yes. And so, yeah, I'm a musician myself, and so I think I really am very hands-on with the musical aspects of the filmmaking because it's so important.
Oh yeah, and it's obvious that you have that love for it because it clicks. It is in sync. It is absolutely in sync.
Oh, nice. Good to hear.
Amy Jo Johnson, our guest right here on Meet Me at the Movies and Cinema Scene, and the director of Tammy's Always Dying, starring Felicity Huffman. That movie is available on May 1st. And Amy, you got a website. Can people find out more stuff about you on the website as well?
Sure, amyjojohnson.com. And, I update it fairly often, but all of my Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff's on there. And then the projects that I have and my music's on there as well.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And Amy, thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Until next time, I'm Noel T. Manning II for Meet Me at the Movies. And for this week, that's a wrap.